property. There's a lot of pressure to think it has to work straight away and that instant gratification, but it's not. Most people who have been successful in it have got 10, 20, 30 years under the belt. Things have gone wrong. It's taken a long time. They've worked alongside having a full-time job whilst building the business, but you've only just found out about them when they've got all this money and they've got all these 100 properties, but you don't know their 20 years behind story. In the grand scheme of things, a year's nothing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Need to Succeed podcast, where we have incredible conversations with phenomenal entrepreneurs just to understand what is the need to succeed. Because here's the thing, two people can go through the exact same situation. One person decides because of that situation, they can no longer achieve the things that they want to achieve in life. The other person decides because of the exact same situation that they absolutely have to achieve everything they've ever dreamt about. Same scenario, different outcomes. What is the thoughts and the mind of a successful entrepreneur? That is exactly what we look to uncover on this podcast. And today we have an absolutely incredible guest. I have been watching this lady from afar and she is making a whole lot of waves in the industry, and the amount of information that she gives is really, really incredible. So everyone listen tight and welcome a property investor, Adriana Caffaso.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming, man. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. And you?
I'm very, very good. I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
I've been on your case for a little while now. Yeah,
we got there in the end.
We finally made it happen. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming here. But look, I'm not sure I told you this before, but if you've watched the podcast before, then you probably know. But if not, it's cool. Yeah. There is 2 set questions.
Yeah.
Everything else is just freestyle. Yeah. We're going to see where we go. All right.
Just wing it.
Just listen, just wing it. Listen, you're on social media, you do a lot of talking.
Yes.
We're just speaking before you're Italian. So, we're not going to struggle with that. All right. We'll be good.
We'll be fine.
We'll be good. What does success actually mean to you?
More than anything, it means being able to know that what I am putting out there is well received and it comes from a whole level of experience. Success is that, people, they trust on your name and they do business on your name. Now, to me, that is so important because it's integrity. And then more than that as well, it means that I can live life on my terms, how I want. I can travel, I can see the world with my family, friends and things like that, and being able to kind of bring everyone up with me.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, I know Italians, you guys tend to be really family oriented, right? But I don't think anyone is there, because when I asked you about success, and straight away, I think you kind of went to your values instead of what success actually meant. You got there eventually, but you went to your values. But that actually says a lot, right? Because it shows me that your brand, who you are, how people perceive you is really, really important to you. I might be wrong, but
no, you're right. You are.
Why is that?
I just think at the end of the day, especially in my business, in what I'm doing, and from seeing the way that if you want to last a long time, you need to have a good name. You need to have integrity with what you do, and that's the most important thing to me at the end of the day. Which then I know that I'm going to be in this for the long term and I'm doing this for the long time. So as long as I always make sure I'm doing everything the right way, doing it good and as well as I possibly can, success is then a byproduct of it. It's going to happen. Now, of course, you want the lifestyle, you want to be able to do all of that. That's absolutely part of the reason why you do it. But you can make a lot of money really quickly and then it could go wrong and it's not going to last very long. You're not going to get there. So I think more importantly is kind of stick to your values, stick to your morals, stick to what you know is right. And success is going to be inevitable there. It's going to happen to then let you have the lifestyle that you then want to live.
Yeah. It's so true, because the thing is, when it comes to your reputation, and we talk about entrepreneurship and people just talk about the risk in entrepreneurship, and there is risk in entrepreneurship. But as long as you have integrity, as long as you've never done anyone wrong, as long as you've always kind of stayed and stuck to your word, things that you said you're going to do, even if you do fall down, first of all, there's going to be a lot of people there to actually help you back up, but then also, even before they reach out to you, you know that you can actually reach out to certain people, to help you get back up, because you've always been, direct and true in the way that you actually dealt with people, right?
Exactly.
And the opposite is also true. If you have been very disingenuous, you've been looking for that fast cash, and now you're on your knees, it's going to be a lot more difficult because, to get to success in the first place, you have to build relationships with key people. Those key people still remain key, but now you no longer have access to them because you've burnt all those bridges.
Yeah.
So the second time round is going to be a whole lot more difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're always going to be learning things and you're never going to absolutely get everything right all the time. But I think as long as you can, risk manage that as much as you possibly can, you're going to be all right.
Amazing. I agree with that. Okay, cool. So let's get into this a little bit, because, the purpose of me starting this podcast is to have an understanding, have conversations with people to get an understanding of, okay, cool, this is who this person was before, right? You might be seeing all of this now and what's happening now, but, what's their journey been like? Because sometimes it's a lot easier to just, look from afar and feel a little bit despondent because you're thinking, yeah, but it's easier for them. Like, look at what she's doing, or look at what he's doing, and all these sort of things. But when someone understands the journey, they can now look at it from a different perspective and say, okay, well, that's where they were when they started. Well, that's where I am now. And look what they're doing. So that means that's still possible for me. Awesome. How do I actually make it happen? Now they're asking a different question. So I always like to understand that journey, right? So if we just take it back a little bit, and let's say Adriana, when she was at school, like who were you at school?
I was a really good kid. I can't lie. In school, I was always like, I don't know, it's probably kind of deep rooted. Get done what you need to get done. Do your work hard, and you're going to be fine. Like, don't get me wrong. I like to have fun. I liked to X, Y, and Z. I liked to party when I was growing up, but I always got done what I needed to do. And I always studied hard, which then got me to the stage of going to university. Probably always had a desire to do something for myself in the entrepreneurship route, communication, speaking to people, but I wasn't entirely sure what that was going to look like. Sort of being from a small town, it's very easy to kind of look around and see all the same faces and things like that. So decided I'll go to uni, get my degree, and then from there, at least I know I've always got that as kind of a fallback option. Or I will pursue a career in law and go down that route. And it was kind of, I didn't think too much into it. I just thought, well, I know I always work hard. I know I can get the grades. I know I'll be able to do that. So that was kind of life then, I guess. Yeah.
Is that what you studied in law?
Yeah, I studied law at university. Yeah. Found out once I graduated that I was dyslexic. They only tested me once I'd graduated, they tested me. I was like, oh, well, that explains a lot. But
in what context? Because dyslexia, law is one of those very detailed.
Yeah.
So, but you went through uni though, right?
But I went through the full thing, and they'd always kind of said, oh, basically I came across really well when I communicated, and then putting that down on a piece of paper, things got a little bit lost in between. But I always did all right. I did well. And yeah, it was always a case of exams, fine. I revised really hard for exams. It is more of a fact base than exactly how you're saying it. And I can remember things and write them down. But in terms of like examination, that you take away and things like that, probably things got more lost in translation. So it was tough. It was really hard. But I still came out really good grade, did well. The last part of it probably saved me because he had like a student law office, which essentially was all, communication based as opposed to doing your dissertation. So I was actually dealing with clients, which
loving that
meant I could communicate with people, I could build a relationship, I could help, which then probably started to put me into my entrepreneurship journey. I applied for a few different things at university that were, enterprise weekends. I think Santander did a competition weekend where you have to come up with a business idea, market it, pitch it. I ended up winning that. It was so that was good. And it kind of, I was like, oh, do you know what? I enjoy this side of things. I'm quite creative, which I think being dyslexic gives you that benefit. Like the way the way I see things is like, it's like a big map, which allows me to kind of travel off and see things maybe in different ways. You know, I can analyze a situation differently to just being very, very analytical, which in business has now really helped me to problem solve. See, now I'm kind of jumping between all different things.
I'm with you. Don't worry. I'm going to get us in line. You just do your thing, yeah? You just riff, yeah? And I'll bring us back to where we need to go, right? Because it's important, because there might be somewhere you take the conversation and say, actually, you know what? Let's sit in that pocket. Let's really dive into that. And that is actually something I want to bring up. So growing up in Nigeria, being African background, dyslexia doesn't exist. Africans don't have dyslexia. Yeah, we don't. It's not in our
Seems
genes.
fair.
Yeah. but it's obviously nonsense, right? But the point I'm saying is, you just get dyslexia beaten out of you. If you're in school and you fail your test, you're catching the cane. Yeah, there's no dyslexia test or nothing like that, right? But listen, a lot of us come out and, you know, we do good academically anyway, right? So I found an interesting point. You're saying you actually went all the way through school, you did law. Did you do well?
Yeah, I think it was a 2% off a first, which really annoyed me.
2% off a first. Okay, I mean, that's incredible.
Really
right?
annoyed me.
But it's a big difference, though, isn't it? Oh, God. But listen, we haven't gone on that career anyway. Like, you're not sorted. It's fine. We've got over it. Yeah. But so you might actually be the perfect person to ask this. Was it beneficial knowing, because there's a lot of labels in this, 2024. This is one of the things that scares me. I want to get my daughter the hell out of here and take her to a place like Nigeria where I know there's not going to be, we don't have these label conversations here. But, was it beneficial going through that process and not knowing that you were dyslexic, or do you think it would have actually been beneficial if you knew?
Do you know, no, it was probably good because it made me work 10 times harder. I sort of knew that I had it. So I was always kind of aware, but I didn't obviously get any benefit from it. So it always kept me competitive because I knew that was my weak spot. I knew that was my disadvantage, which then I said, okay, well, I need to work 10 times harder in this, and this. I need to be doing this, and this to then counteract that. Now, I think had I have had it, you get the extra time, you get this. A laptop probably would have been nice. But yeah, I think maybe you give yourself an excuse.
Yeah.
When I actually, when I first started out in uni, me and my mum sat down, she's like, this is, just do it, give it everything. And I did. And obviously I was at uni as well, so I was definitely having fun in the process.
Yeah.
But no, I think probably not knowing was ideal.
Yeah, I definitely think there's some benefit to that, because there's like a victimhood, a victim mindset that I feel like it's kind of taken over society a little bit, where, there's got to be something that makes me, less capable of doing something than someone else. And you guys all need to acknowledge me for it, because it's actually not my fault. And if you don't acknowledge me, then maybe you're being a little bit discriminatory or whatever it might be. Whereas it's like, well, like you said, there was something I knew I had a disadvantage.
Yeah.
But what that pushed me to do is to work harder. And, as a result of that, you're getting success in your life. Some of the principles that pushed you while you're uni, I'm assuming that you're using some of those skills and traits now in your business.
Definitely. Yeah. And I do think it's relative. Look, at the end of the day, the situation I was in, I was able to counter it, and I was able to do things to put me on the right. And so I guess it depends on exactly your situation. But I think for me, in the way that my brain's wired up, it worked. It was fine.
Got to be done. Okay, cool. And I mean, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say there's a correlation, but there's a lot of successful people who actually have dyslexia.
Yeah.
Right. And
which was another thing that I used to tell myself. I was like, oh, they've got it. They're doing fine. You'll be fine.
Exactly that. Right. Okay, cool. So let's just kind of take it back, because now you're an entrepreneur, but back in school you said, you were a good kid, all that sort of stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want my daughter to be, because all this in entrepreneurship, I was a little bit naughty, all of that. I wasn't all that sort of stuff, right? But at the end of the day, I don't want my daughter to do that. I just want her to be good, do your thing, don't give me no stress, no headache, and just go for a clean, right? But at the same time, I kind of want her to be an entrepreneur, because I'm like, I don't want you going on this school. But listen, it's going to be up to her. But the reason I'm asking that is, have you, as a little girl going through school, where you always, thinking of being an entrepreneur, or you thinking, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be having this argument in court, I want to build my case? Like, what was your mindset kind of, when you were younger?
When I was young, how young are we talking? Because it probably formed over the years, kind of as I was growing up. My parents, both entrepreneurs, so I've always been around that environment of working for yourself and the hours you work and the discipline you need to have. I've always kind of been familiar with that, I guess. So that probably has played a part in shaping me to be who I am. I was working in their restaurant from maybe 13, 14 years old. So I was always communicating with people. So I think it kind of just naturally formed me as a person that I had to go this way. And I'm probably a bit stubborn, meaning I probably wouldn't do too well working for people. It probably gets a similar thing as sort of the way that my brain works and things like that. It's not that I don't like authority, it's that I get bored if I'm told what I have to do. Like I can be so disciplined and work ridiculous hours when I know that I'm deciding to do that and it's right in line with what my goals and visions are. But kind of building someone else's wasn't really where I needed to be. Yeah,
I hear you. Listen, I hear you on that. It's I mean, I've done it. I've gone down the corporate route.
Yeah.
You've come straight out of uni and bang into this, which I'm envious of.
I did work in marketing full time for maybe a month.
Well, I'm just going to scrub that. I'm going to scrub that for maybe a month. But you know, and that told me everything I needed to know.
No, it didn't teach me anything about the corporate world. Just that I didn't want to be there.
That's what I was going to say, though. But it told you everything that you needed to know. Like, this ain't it.
No,
this ain't for
not
me.
The one.
Yeah.
No.
But that's good, though. That is, again, another mark of success for entrepreneurs, which is like, you know, you make decisions quickly. Right? You went in there, you're like,
Yeah. No, I'm definitely impulsive with the decision. Just stick at it and do it.
Yeah.
But I always back it. I think if you're going to back the decision that you make, I think if you're not going to then start flaking on it, it's fine. Be impulsive, be quick.
That's the fine line, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? There's no just flake on everything. Flake.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you give yourself, oh, well, actually, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, nah, bro, like, you just never stick to that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, there's a big difference. Okay, cool. So, I mean, growing up around entrepreneurship, I'm guessing, you know, that's going to have an impact on you. I hope so, because I'm hoping to do the same for my daughter, right? So, growing up around it, but were your parents kind of pushing you to entrepreneurship, or were they just more like, go to uni, get your degree, get qualified?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, they've always been really supportive in whatever way you want to go, we'll support you. My mum always would just say, you know, if as long as you do your best at anything, you're fine. And they're always going to back us on that. But I do think they quite like the idea of us all going to uni and having a solid job and having something behind us, because they weren't educated that way. And they've had to build up a life from not really having anything as such. So they've seen how hard they've had to work, and I don't think they particularly always want us to go through it. But whatever route we all did choose, and, you know, they were really, really supportive of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you said we. Like, how many have you got siblings?
Yeah, there's 4 girls.
4 girls.
Probably why my dad works
all
so
girls.
much. All girls.
I
know.
Mate.
I know.
Well, and listen, I might end up in that situation. I don't know. Yeah, my first is a girl. Yeah, I mean, let's see.
You never know. How many? Exactly. How many are you going for? How many?
I want 4.
You want 4?
I want 4. Yeah. Well, I thought the first was going to be a boy.
Oh, really?
I was convinced it was a boy. I was 100%. Even when the nurse was right there, done the thing, she goes, do you know? So I was like, I already know. It's a boy. What do you mean? But apparently I'm not always right.
Got that one so, just a bit.
There you go. Okay, cool. So you've gone to uni. You've studied law. All the while you're at uni, I know you just mentioned about Santander and the rest of it, but were you kind of looking forward to a corporate career? Was that something that you wanted to do, or was there like a trigger point that you thought, I'm not sure if this is the right thing?
Do you know what? It probably still goes back to the same thing of, I'm going to be a lawyer. I think I one day decided I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a barrister, stand up in court, argue. Yeah, that will give me a good life. And so that's the kind of choice I went down with my degree. And then, exactly like I said, if I say I'm going to do something, I will stick to it. So I saw it right the way through. And it was probably within my final year of uni is when I started to explore all the entrepreneurship routes, because it was getting really serious where, you know, I should be applying for my training contract. I should be going to do this, this and this. Should I be doing my master's in law? And I was like, I am so not interested in this.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't. It didn't hook me. Whereas I would spend my evenings, I'd spend time, you know, reading my books about entrepreneurship and being successful and watching YouTube. And I'd spend actually hours doing things like that and trying to understand property, which is something I'd always kind of wanted to go into. But I didn't spend time, you know, picking out the law journal, seeing what's happening there, what's going on there. And that's when I very quickly realised, like, okay, fair enough, you've got this far, but maybe you need to rethink your options.
There's a bug. I can feel this other bug, and it's not going away.
I was like, don't be stubborn, maybe just like back off and rethink exactly where you need to go.
Interesting. What was the first book you read?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
It's the one, isn't it?
Yes, it was the one.
I had, Bricks with Tips.
Yes.
I had him in that same chair yesterday. First book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Same hair. It
hooks you, doesn't it?
Yo, yeah. It's like the first one you read, and it's so well written. It's written in plain English, and you get the concept, like the rich dad, the poor dad. You understand, the mindset, and you grow up around this kind of mindset, and you're like, oh, but this one's attractive. Like this, let's have a look at this, and then obviously, there's properties also underpinning in that as well, right? Yeah. So it's almost like the guy's just incredible book. Yeah,
I'd like to go back and reread it again now, knowing everything that I've done, but it's just one of them things. But yeah, no, it kind of just opened my mind. I was like, oh, this makes so much sense.
Yeah,
like something so simple as a concept. Yeah.
So how did you? So because obviously now you're in your final year. I don't know if it's the same in an Italian household, but I didn't finish. I dropped out.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
What did you study?
I was doing business.
Okay.
So it's a bit more generic. It wasn't like I went to uni in 2008 as well. Financial crisis. Okay. I start thinking, I'm doing business. Was this really going to get me? I need to go and learn. If I'm going to do business, at least go and work in a business or something like that. So I was like, this ain't it, right? But nonetheless, I'm African. Dropping out. Like that conversation is a bit mad. Like, I'm leaving uni, right? You know what I'm saying? And at this time, I'd already had like a colourful past, being homeless, all of that sort of stuff. Now your family's kind of excited for you. Oh, finally he's got his shit together. He's gone to uni now. And then I'm like, yo, I'm dropping out. So you can you imagine how that went down. How was that? Was there a conversation? Was there a series of conversations like when you kind of start feeling like, actually, you know what, this ain't it. I've worked hard 3-4 years. I know law's like an extra year or whatever it might be. Did that conversation ever happen?
Well, no, because I did graduate. I still finished and got my degree.
I know, but after you finished...
after I finished that, well, it was COVID. So I graduated in COVID, so no one knew what was happening. Okay. But as basically just before I graduated, I moved home because everyone got sent home for lockdown. So we got sent home, and I then started a small business. It was just like customizing Jordans, things like that. So I was already making money from like the day I graduated. So my parents were really quite supportive of that. They're like, okay, go girl. And it was the summer anyway. It would have been like the summer of uni. So I would have just been expected to like go and have fun as it is. So I started that. I then got offered the job in marketing, which was through one of my parents' friends who she was speaking to. She's like, wow, I kind of want to mentor you in a business sense. I definitely think there's a lot that you can do, which is what then took me down that route. So pretty much as I graduated, I was working there, and then I was doing my shoe business. So I was busy all the time. I was doing like 7-Elevens most days anyway from when I graduated. So I think they just kind of let me do my thing. They knew it was going to be all right.
The bug is there now.
Yeah.
The work ethic.
Then I made a really impulse decision because I was doing that. I was doing my shoe business. I was working in the marketing, and I thought, I'm bored. I'm back home. This is scary. This is not what I want to be doing. So within a day, I don't know why I made this decision, but I decided I'm going to go back and do a master's in business and entrepreneurship because that's what I need to be doing. Moved back to Newcastle, probably booked and had all this done within like the space of a week. I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back to uni and do a master's. Moved back up there, did that, which I think was what I needed because I couldn't travel. It was COVID. I couldn't go and travel, which I probably would have done after uni anyway. Which then moved me back up to Newcastle again, which was kind of, calling me to come back, set up there again. And then I started my master's. That one I did drop out of because I was like, this is just not it. It's not it. Yeah. It was all online as well. And I was like, what am I paying for? Like, this is...
Some professor teaching you about business.
Yeah, I was like...
Why are you teaching, bro? Why are you not doing business?
Literally. Where's the company?
Yeah, for real though.
So then I did that. I'd made like a decent amount of savings. So I was working part-time, stopped that. was still doing my shoe business, was making decent money there, was living in Newcastle, and then decided, okay, I'm going to use this money either to buy a house or go and get educated in property. So I was like, this is the next step that I need to take now. I know I want to have my own thing. Luckily, I chose to get educated because I only had about 15 grand. I wouldn't have got very far in a refurb.
Yeah.
But
people don't, it's a really difficult decision, because I've seen people at that crossroads so many times, and sometimes people don't value the right education. And I think it is getting a bit more difficult because there's a lot of people out there offering this education, right? So you got to be careful with that. But like the return, the ROI on it, if you get it right, it's just stupendous.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it is.
A question for you. Is your mom still friends with that lady?
Yeah. I was not expecting that one.
I pick up and realize my mom's friend wanted to mentor me. So like a month later, I'm like, nah, get lost. I'm not doing this.
No, do you know what? She was cool. She gets it. She's an entrepreneur herself. She was like, go do your thing. Like, I know this is not where you need to be. So yeah, she was cool.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about that then. You dropped 15 bags of mentorship.
No.
Okay.
Not in total. To be fair, it was probably about 10.
But listen, I wasn't knocking it, because like, I understand. Listen, I've spent more. I get it. I'm with it. But I'm saying, out there, people are like, have you lost your goddamn mind?
No, I know. Yeah, people always are. But at the end of the day, I mean, what the return on investment on that has just been like phenomenal, hasn't it? I think, again, it probably goes back to the thing of, well, I've got this money, and I pretty much put everything that I had into my training, but then I didn't have a plan B. So I was like, well, I have to make it work. And that's probably been my philosophy with a lot of things of, well, you've signed up, you're doing this now, you are going to make it a success. So yeah, it was a kind of a no-brainer.
Let's talk about that, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of the audience that watches this podcast are either people in property, people who are trying to get into property, and they just, either they've already started and, maybe something hasn't taken off, or they're thinking of getting into it and they're not quite sure, right, of what to do. But this could actually be like a perfect scenario for them, because this is a decision that a lot of people have to make when they're coming into property, because it's such a big thing. You think, well, can I do this without knowledge? So you've dropped 10K into training. Like you said, this is basically all you had. Like, what are your next steps? So now you've trained, but the bank account is empty. Yeah. So, where do we go from here?
Well, obviously in the first few weeks, I was like, I'm going to be a millionaire next week. I will triple that. I'm not bothered. I moved back home. I moved back in with my parents, because I very quickly realised I can't afford this. So I moved back in with my parents. I was doing a little bit of part-time work to kind of like top up my overdraft. Because
what did you do?
I was working in the restaurant. My parents had a restaurant, so it was kind of worked quite nicely for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was doing that, and I've completely gone off topic.
No, so I'm talking about
so I moved back home.
The next steps, right?
The next steps, yeah. And it was basically, right, absorb as much information as you possibly can, go on as many viewings as you possibly can. And I was kind of doing them near Manchester, where I'm from, and I was still driving back up to Newcastle.
Why?
Because I've grown up, I've lived there, and I knew it was the right area.
Why? What made it the right area?
Because it's a massive area for redevelopment. There's so much going on there, and it's going to be the next. It's had a boom, but the boom is continuing. It's going. It's stronger, and I knew that myself. I knew there was a massive market for obviously HMOs and professional and student accommodations. You've got two big unis. You've got all the investment coming in. I kind of just knew, well, it's cheap. And I know the areas, I know the streets, and I think to invest somewhere you need to know the streets. So yeah, my first, and I wasn't afraid to like go on viewings, and I was calling up like, I'm a cash buyer. I've got da-da-da-da.
Oh, you were that annoying guy.
Yeah, I was that annoying guy. I was like, yeah. But I learned so much from doing it. Like my first viewing I went on, he was like, oh, what do you do? And I went, oh, I'm a solicitor. And he went, oh, really? Property law? I went, complete lie. Like, I just dropped out of my law degree. Literally, uni dropout. But it all just kind of like fell out my mouth. And he knew I was obviously talking shit. But it was fine, yeah. And I just kept doing that. That was kind of the next 6 months. it took me a long time to make any money. But I kind of kept pushing.
Why did you keep? Because listen, 6 months, especially after you've just dropped your savings. You've been given an opportunity of mentorship, marketing, which is massive. It's a lot of money to be made in marketing. You've left that. You've gone back to uni to do a master's. You've dropped out. The little change you've got in your bank, you've dropped it on some coaching.
You really painted a good picture.
And now with 6 months, saying like, yo, there's no money. Like, how did you keep going?
Well, whenever you do something, or whenever I do something, I always know that I'm going to make a success of it. Whatever happens in between that, the end goal is to do it right and to do a good job of it. So I kind of just knew in the back of my head, and I gave myself that year time frame of the year of mentorship to say, okay, you need to be successful by the end of this year. You need to have made money. You need to have made your money back. So I was against the clock. And then things they were happening. They were falling through. They were happening. They were falling through. And then probably about 7 months in, I think I started to make some money. Then it all kind of fell out of bed again because landlords pulled out or whatever it was. But again, I kept pushing. I remember it got to like the end of September time, and I was still living at home. I was still, scraping at the bottom of my overdraft. And I'd been on The Eviction, the kind of TV series of like, The Apprentice of Property, so to speak, on YouTube.
Oh, Samuel Leeds?
Yeah, so I did.
You can mention his name on here, there's no beef.
No, that's not that, but so I did that.
You on that, yeah?
Yeah, I was on that.
What season?
The last one that was done, I believe.
Do you know what you're saying now? And I'm thinking, I think I recognise the face.
I had short hair. I don't know if that helps anything.
I
seemed really quiet on there.
Nas was speaking that.
Yeah, I seemed really quiet on there. Apart from, I did a public speaking as one of the episodes. Samuel brought us all up.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is it all coming back?
It's all coming back. Okay. So how was that experience? Sorry, I'll let you carry on.
No, it's fine. It was really cool. It was amazing. I was with some really cool people, met some people who I will be friends with for life off the back of it. We all, made a lot of money on the series. Maybe not everything panned out after it, but we all realised, okay, we can do this one way or another. Found my love of public speaking because obviously Samuel invited us on the stage to then do a pitch. And I thought, oh my God, I really enjoyed that, which was good. So that opened up that door there, and that got me quite a lot of traction with people because they enjoyed the way I presented, what I spoke about, which then got me quite known in that space, which was cool. Still couldn't get things to stick, couldn't find the right kind of deals. I switched my focus from BRR to rent, thinking, okay, well, this is kind of an easy one to understand. I'd probably be more confident selling it. In actual fact, I'm much better at the BRR side of things than the sourcing of that. But I think it's because it's where my passion lies.
How did you think? Because I think that's important. Mm-hmm. This is, obviously I coach a mentor within the space, right? And people ask me this question all the time, like, what strategy should I do? My answer is always, what do you want to achieve? Mm-hmm. Right? Because once you understand what you truly want to achieve from property, then there's a strategy. There's so many different strategies in property. There's something that's going to align with that, right? How did you make that decision? Like, rent to rent, obviously very popular, low hanging fruit. I got no money coming in. Actually, why don't I just do this, right? BRR, it's going to take you a little bit longer to actually get the lump sum coming back in. But how did you make that distinction between the two?
So I was sourcing. So that was kind of how I was making cash flow. I still do that now. Sourcing properties for investors. Now, when I was sourcing BRRs, obviously starting out, not really having loads of property knowledge, I was really, really cautious. Again, coming back to my reputation about what do I put out there? How do I know that I've made a good analysis of this deal? How do I know my refurb's correct? X, Y, and Z. So I was sitting on deals a lot more. Whereas with the rent to rent, I thought, oh, that's easier for me to understand. I can look there. Well, I can roughly work out what it's going to cost to furnish or things like that. So I felt more confident to sell that. And also there was a much wider target audience of people who would sell to someone as a beginner. Mm-hmm. I was a beginner. They were a beginner, vice versa. It was an easier kind of introduction. But as I was doing it, I made quite a bit of money off it. Don't get me wrong. It was doing well, but I didn't enjoy it. It was getting like, oh, I've got to analyse this deal now. And I wasn't, yeah, but it's true. I was like, oh, I've got to go through this. Oh, I've got to go and check this. And just personally for me, I didn't get the same kind of spark out of it as I did when I was doing a BRR. And also, when you source and find a BRR and you get it secured, you know that's yours. Whereas with the rent to rent, it was like, oh, but then you've got to jump through this hurdle and you've got to jump through this. And some people love it. Some people have amazing success. But I was far more successful on the sourcing of the BRR side of things. So what I kind of would always say to people and what I've learned is that, especially if you're starting out from not really having any background in it, don't be afraid to look at all of the strategies, and then don't be afraid to even be 6 months in on one and say, oh, well, I have to stick at this now. I've spent the last 6 months doing it. If you're not enjoying it and if it's just not working for you, try something else. And even if just try something else for a little while to think, oh, do you know what? No, I actually do want to go back to that. Or, oh no, this is better. This is where I should be. So, yeah.
That's a great lesson. I mean, that's a really, really good point. It is tricky, you know, what I kind of say around that is, and I agree with what you're saying, but just to layer on top of it more is, before you decide to actually start pumping money into something, though, you've got to look at all of them from the outside.
Yes.
There's a lot of free content on YouTube. There's people like yourself, people like me, who actually, give content that you can learn from. And, we don't even do the same things, right? But you give content on BRR, give content on service accommodation. You can learn from all these people and then make a decision. And then you go in. But like you said, even if you're 6 months into that decision and you feel actually, you know what, this isn't quite right, don't be then scared to pivot. But you have to give it enough time first before you then decide, okay, I'm going to go and do something else again.
100%. I think sometimes that's the biggest thing with, especially property. There's a lot of pressure to think it has to work straight away in that instant gratification, but it's not. Most people who have been successful in it have got 10, 20, 30 years under the belt. Yeah. Things have gone wrong. It's taken a long time. They've worked alongside having a full-time job whilst building the business, but you've only just found out about them when they've got all this money and they've got all these 100 properties, but you don't know their 20 years behind story. In the grand scheme of things, a year's nothing. The last year I've had has completely flown over, and I think, where the hell has it gone? It is nothing. So you don't be afraid to change it. Yeah.
I love that. It's a pipeline thing, right? I mean, first of all, you speak about time horizon. Again, we had this conversation kind of yesterday, but when you look at things in a long enough time horizon, it starts to, you start to almost be like, what am I worried about?
Yeah.
Like, what am I worried about? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, if I'm giving myself 5 years, okay, let's say, okay, I want to be successful in property. And I say, okay, cool, I'm giving myself 5 years to do it. Do you know how much higher my likelihood of success is? It's just so much higher because I'm not rushing anything. The decisions I'm making is based on what is the right decision, not what I've only got 6 months or maybe even 2 months. Some people don't even, they just give it a couple of weeks and see how they kind of feel, right? But if you're saying, okay, 5 years, I'm doing this, the decisions you make are good. And it doesn't mean they're easy, because that decision is, I've got to pick up the phone, I've got to call 100 people, I've got to go do all this amount of viewings, and I've got to do this analysis and all of these sort of things. But that's what I'm going to do, right? That's what I have to do to actually get the results. It's just so much easier to succeed if you think in a longer time horizon. But, unfortunately, again, we live in a world of not delayed gratification, but instant gratification.
100%. Yeah, exactly the same as what you've just said. It was Malkit that said to me, he said, every decision, think 10 years. Think 10 years, think long term on everything that you're doing. And it's true, you have to. Obviously, you have to set short term goals. And especially, when you're starting out or at the start of the year, I sat down and I thought, okay, what do I want to do this year? What do I want by the end of the year? What does each quarter need to look like? Like, yes, you do need to have goals. You need to have these KPIs that you are going to push yourself to meet. Because I'm looking at like the end of this month now or the end of Jan, I went, have I done what I needed to do to be able to be within this quarter? And so it keeps me hungry. But yeah, in terms of the long-term decisions and thinking, this has to be an instant success, need to make all my money back within 2 weeks and it's inevitable. You're going to think with, well, not right. Yeah.
So who said that to you? You said someone said
Malkit and Sanjay from Savoy, they said that every decision, think 10 years in advance.
Yeah.
Think 10, and it's so true. And it's like, even when you're building a relationship with someone, it's not just about what that quick exchange can be. It's what can you guys do together over the next 10 years? And it's, when I'm working with my clients, it's always, well, there's this property, then what's the next one like? How are the deals? And then going to forward on after that. So, yeah.
from how I'm analyzing this, it's like something happened there, something triggered in you, after that program. If I'm not mistaken, you feel like that's when things went on.
Things took off.
What happened?
So I did really well in that again. I got third place, which was cool. So I got to the semi-finals. I felt really quite proud of myself. Kind of, my high was obviously the public speaking one. Found the deal, did a lot of work on that, got the numbers and did the presentation. Felt like I really kind of came out of my shell to think, this is what I actually can do. And then the next one was a Raising Finance challenge, and that just absolutely I did so bad. I did so bad. I mean, I don't think anyone did personally great, because it was like I think we had to raise 1.2 million. Me and Matt were in partners, 1.2 million in...
Oh yeah, Matt won it, didn't it?
No, Adam won it.
Adam? I knew it was that guy, that big kind of guy.
Yeah, Adam won it. Yeah, so...
It was good, to be fair. It was good.
It was good. Yeah, he's amazing, Adam. Yeah, definitely. So we had 7 hours, something stupid like that, not even, to raise £1.2 million. I was like...
Yeah, I know you're on the show, but some of it's not realistic, innit?
Yeah, of course. But I was like, wow, well, how the hell has that happened? I was like, I'm never going to be able to do that. If I had that in my back pocket,
I won't be in this show.
Well, exactly. This is never going to happen. I was like calling people, saying the most bizarre things, and I was being called.
I bet they're going... Is Adriana all right?
I know. I was like calling people who I've never even spoken to before. And sometimes I'll go back on my DMs and I'll see, and I was like, oh God. Stop being so competitive. But yeah, so came home. I was really flat when I got back from there, because I just had, I think it was maybe about a month, we were in this house all together. And we'd all been working together every day. Obviously, Samuel would come in and be like, bang, I want this doing today. And you're like, oh, right, okay, let's go make that happen. And we'd be up till 4 or 5 in the morning, then back up again at 7. It was just this constant thing of do this. You need to go and find this and be here. So it was a massive high intensity environment. Mm-hmm. And then I came back home, and obviously I was feeling a bit sorry for myself as well, because I lost. And I just kind of sat there. I was like, oh, what do I do now? This is really strange. Anyway, went on holiday, relaxed, came back, and that was at the point where my mum kind of said to me, do you think you need to think about getting a job maybe, because it's just not panning out? But it wasn't, she was being really supportive about it, but it was more this is where you're at now.
Of course. I didn't do that because she's been horrible. I do that because these are the little traps that the world sets for us, and it comes from those that love us, right? Exactly.
And she said, you maybe need to think about starting to get a job, because at the minute you're in and out of your overdraft. I can tell that you're not happy. It probably affected me quite a bit. And I was like, give me 1 more month. And I said, give me 1 more month. And then in that month, I got my first property, which was a rent-to-rent, sold quite a few deals. I was on a high. And by the end of the month, I was like, oh, see? It was that last trap that the person closest to you, who you think, is going to tell you what you should be doing, that says that.
What changed?
Well, I just pushed past it. I just realised that this is probably one of your final chances to make it work. And I got hungry, and I was just constant bang on the phones, doing everything. I did change up my strategy then massively to go down the rent-to-rent route. I did it, and I was calling, and it wasn't that it just happened. It was a full month of making all these calls for things to then happen. But then obviously when I then got mine, it would go on my social media, and it would be things like that, and then you'd get recognised in the space, and someone might be like, oh, well, I've got this deal, can you sell it for me? And then things kind of naturally happen like that. And then by the end of it, I was like, oh, okay, well, cool, I've made quite a bit of money now, happy days. And then continued with it from there, really.
Amazing. I really want to try and get into the mind of, because I feel like this is really interesting. I'm really enjoying this, by the way, just so you know, yeah. Because that's what's important, the minute details. But what changed when you told your mom, I've got a month left? Obviously, yeah, you knew your back was against the wall. The activity went up, but you were doing the activity before.
Yeah.
What changed?
Well, it's back to that thing of the deadline of when you have to make it happen. And I'm not going to quit something. The way I am is I'm so determined to make whatever it is I'm doing work. And I thought, right, well, this is the moment that you have to. So obviously I had the back of the eviction. I then went on a holiday, reset, realised, you know, take a breath, chill out, and then try again. And I think I probably would, if people are in that situation where they are kind of really struggling or they're on a low, maybe do take a step outside of it, regroup, rethink, you know, relax yourself, even if it's just a few days or even a day, or whatever it is, then come back to everything with a fresh head. Because if you've got a negative perception of things, it is going to be negative.
Yeah.
I came back, I felt focused, and I just put my head down and went to work. And I think probably everything that I'd learned off the back of the eviction as well about how to, you know, handle myself, how to work under pressure, how to do all of these little things, combined with probably the thing of, oh, well, I'm quite public now. You know, people knew who I was, especially within that space. People knew who I was. I was like, well, I've got a reputation to uphold. They've just seen me on stage. They've seen how I've communicated. They've seen what I can do. I now have to follow through on that, which is probably all combined together to then, you know, make it happen.
Well, perception is reality, right? Perception is reality, and it's good that you kind of put that pressure on yourself, you know. But also the things that you learned in the environment, you can't you know, you can't discount that, because those things that you did that you didn't want to do, that maybe you felt embarrassed about at the time, but you still did it.
Yeah.
That's a muscle that you've built now. Because the truth is, to be an entrepreneur, you have to get rid of the ego.
Yeah.
Like the things that I don't want to do are because it's going to make me look a certain way. Bro, do you need to eat? You need to put food on the table. We don't have time for all that. But you were kind of forced into that scenario, and moving away from that was like, well, now I know I can do it. And actually, it wasn't that bad. They just told me no, but it was fine. You know, they weren't a dick about it. They weren't like, you know, whatever about it. It was just what it was. Did you have that moment of realization, or did you kind of feel like you learned from that at all or anything like that?
Yeah, massively. So when I was kind of even on that show in that environment of, well, you don't really have a choice but to do it. Otherwise you go home, and competitive me wasn't going to let that happen. But seeing other people, seeing how other people were doing things and how they were communicating, you know, you can kind of learn off that and break through that. And the same thing was when I came back. I don't know why. I was really, really scared to kind of make those first rent-to-rent calls. It was weird. But yeah, you just get over yourself and you're fine and you move on and like, okay, they said no, cool, bye. Yeah, so
amazing, because you were doing BRR, but you went back and you did rent to rent, because now you realize, well, actually I can do that, I can make some money. That's amazing, man. What great. But in terms of then, so you've done that, you've made some money now. I'm guessing your mom come off your case.
Yeah, she came back off my case again.
She's like, okay, cool, you go another month, right? I'm joking. But then obviously you realize, actually, you know what, this really isn't for me. I don't get the same joy, the same excitement. And I guess there is a lesson in that, which is sometimes you just got to do what you've got to do to get yourself back up to where you need to be. You don't have to stay, you know, because what could happen is people could get burnt out. I experienced this, right? You know, my first business failed. And then I told myself, I'm just going back to work. You know, and I went back to the corporate world for a good few years, because I was like, I'm never putting my family in this vulnerable position again, because that's how I felt. So I felt like entrepreneurship wasn't it, which is ridiculous, because it's in me, like it's just literally in me, right? But sometimes you put yourself in that position where you then make the wrong decision just because you haven't thought, okay, cool, let me just do what I've got to do to get myself up to, you know, where I'm comfortable again, and then I can start going back to the things I actually want to do.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Yeah.
So what was the next process? Because now how did you first secure your first actual BRR deal? Because at the moment you still haven't done that, right?
So to be fair, I had, but I'd secured it. I secured one quite early and it was a really, really good deal. But I didn't have the investor on the other end. So I actually got it and I got it secured. And then as the agent was calling me back, I got too scared to answer the phone because I didn't have a buyer. So I hung up and missed it. And then I did get a buyer, rang up 2 days later and, oh, it's gone now. You didn't pick up the phone. I was like, right, fair enough. So I then learned, when you get an opportunity, grab it, take it. And then after that, it was, how did it come about, my first BRR? Do you know what? I think someone brought me the deal and then I then put it to an investor. I sold it to an investor. So it was like, I checked over the numbers. I was happy with everything, but having a partnership and someone who also had done the numbers that you can soundboard off each other with, that helped me a lot. Yeah, that gave me confidence. So I think that was that. And it just then kind of built out from there. And then I got myself known for sourcing BRRs, for doing BRR deals and things like that.
How when you say you got yourself known?
Yeah. How? I made some really bad videos on my Instagram on my first few, and stuff like, oh, I was going around, I was looking for this, but I was constantly active. I was putting myself out to the world, and you'll know how that obviously benefits you when people can actually see what you're doing. You know, oh, she's been done 15 viewings today, she must be serious, kind of thing. So taking the action. But yeah,
amazing. So essentially, if you were sort of giving someone advice, you know, someone who is looking to start off in property, they don't know where to start, maybe they don't even know what strategy to do, like, what would be your advice to that person?
I think if you're starting out, I think you need to get mentorship, because I think if you expect people to take you seriously in whatever strategy it is that you're doing, well, you need to know what you're talking about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you've got a load of money, maybe you're in a slightly different position because you can leverage off someone else's knowledge. But, you know, if you are trying to start out and you're trying to build something, then you need to put yourself around the people that are doing what you want to do, which is something that very early on I realised. And if I want to be successful, if you listen to every successful person, the majority of them say, oh, I had a mentor. I had a mentor. Robert Kiyosaki, he had a mentor. That's how he became...
Rich Dad.
Yeah, literally, he had Rich Dad. And that's the perfect thing of, okay, you need a mentor, which is, again, probably from reading that book to then doing that, it all makes sense. You need to... So I think education is key. And I think also if you're expecting, particularly for me, so if I'm sourcing a deal, why should you buy off me? What have I done to prove that I'm serious? Well, I've just put all my savings into training to be able to learn how to go and find that type of property for you. I'm accountable. I'm here. Now you're going to be more inclined to work with me because you can say, all right, she's not just, you know, here thinking she can make $3,000 because all she's done is found a deal and put some numbers on a screen. It's that, oh no, I've invested. I actually know how to follow through on these numbers, how to do the due diligence and things like that. So definitely would say investment is the biggest thing. Look around online of, you know, who and where you want to go to do that as well. But yeah,
cool.
Massive.
Let's talk about, let's put the investment to one side because, you know, I wouldn't say it's obvious, but I think a lot of people actually understand that. A lot of people do actually invest in themselves now.
Yeah.
Some people are actually a little bit despondent because they have invested and they still haven't actually seen the returns on their investment, right? So let's put the investment to the side. Let's say you've invested. It's not a guarantee of results, by the way. Right?
Oh, no.
It's not. I mean,
absolutely not.
You're too cute, little one.
Okay. Ouch.
Oh, but you kept going, right? And you know that's another trait. You know, don't give up, right? When you give up, that's when you actually lose. Before that, you're just figuring it out. But they've done the investment. You know, what are the key steps you would say they need to take to actually, you know, get the success they want in property?
I say it all the time, and it is massive action. You have to be doing the most. You have to be doing as much as you can possibly do with your time. You need to be using that to be doing things relevant to your space. I might speak to people now and they're going, I just can't make it work. I just can't do this. And I was, how many viewings have you been on? 5. In how long? 3 months? Okay, what do you think is going to happen there? I mean, it's a competitive space, particularly, I mean, any type of entrepreneurship. Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like, you need to be doing 5 a day minimum or whatever it is when you're starting out. Even if you're not offering and seeing them through, you're getting so familiar with how to walk around a property, how to assess it, what to look out for. Well, I've just seen 5 different boilers. I can kind of guess which one needs changing, purely because you've seen it with your eyes. So then you can start to factor that in. I've just seen 5 different roofs. One of them had 3 slates missing. I thought, all right, I probably need to factor something in there. But because you're seeing it more and more and more often, you become used to all the little details. And the only way that you really do kind of get those results is by doing. It's not going to come easy to you. And I think wherever there's high reward, there's going to be so many kind of, you know, obstacles in your way to be able to get to that. So yeah, do as much as you possibly can do. Take note, get around other people, make sure you have people who are also in the same industry as you that you can speak to, whether that be, a builder. Me and my builder are constantly in conversation, firing things across to each other. And, it constantly levels us up to the next step because you've got that person there that you can, fire idea across, you can do this. And yeah, I would say putting a power team around you as early as possible. And then providing the good is keeping hold of that power team as well. Because, if you've got, for now, for example, I've got a couple of different build teams that we work with, but they're all constantly being given more and more work, which means they're constantly then going to take care of my needs. And the same with, if you've got a broker, use the same broker, providing they're giving you the thing, put all your properties through the same broker, then they're going to take care of you. And like that, and that the same goes with everything. If you can build relationships and build business with people from early on, then that's ultimately going to kind of build up your business and build up the people around you to then keep taking you further.
That's powerful. I'm part of BNI, and one of their philosophies is give us gain.
Okay.
Right? Give us gain, which is kind of what you said.
Yeah.
You're giving these people a lot of work, then obviously you're going to actually reap the benefits from doing that as well, which is actually what I say about networking. A lot of people have the wrong idea when they go to networking. They're looking for, what can you do for me? But it's like, I don't know you from Adam.
Yeah.
So if you're coming here with the mind, I didn't come here to do something for you. I came here with an intention to add value to my business, for someone to do something for me. So if you understand that, and your approach to me is, hey, how can I help you?
Yes.
Straight away, I'm thinking, raw, I want to do something for you.
Yes.
But people don't think that way. They think selfishly, and as a result of that, you don't actually get any rewards, from what you put into it, in terms of from what you actually want out of the networking event. But such a great tip. But I love the one that you said about just working, and just putting in the yards, because that's what is unfortunately going to take people. No one wants to do the work. Like, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't want to do the work either.
Yeah,
but
if the money was just there, it'd be cool.
listen, just give it to me. But we understand that success leaves clues.
Yeah.
There's a formula to success. And if you want to achieve what other people have, you look at what they've done to get there and you just emulate it. And ultimately there's going to be work to do with that, right? This has been really, really, really good.
Oh, yeah. I've really enjoyed it. No, it's been really fun.
It's been really, really fun. You've given, so much. I've anticipating a lot of people watching this right now would have definitely taken a lot out of that, right? Just like actual granular. I think this is probably one of the most, in terms of, let's get into the detail, what actually happened, what's been that journey like. I think this has probably been one of the most granular ones, information-wise. So, thank you so much for that. Really happy with that. Remember I said there's 2 set questions.
Yeah. This is number 2.
The first and the last one. This is number 2. But you've done a lot. And when you think about the actual time span, like, you're thinking 10 years, right? Like, these 2 years have been really, really good.
Yeah.
So I'm saying you're doing incredible. And like I said, it's only the start. So the future, I can imagine, is really, really, really bright. But with everything that you've achieved, like, so far, what remains your need to succeed?
Well, I'm not where I need to be yet. I'm not there. I haven't done it. I mean, I know that I'm a small fish in a big pond. That's the right way around, isn't it? And part of it is, if I'm not doing anything, I'm kind of bored because I need to constantly keep myself busy. But ultimately, it's the life that I want to live, the life that I want to have, and that is not going to be given to me, and I wouldn't want it to be given to me. I know I'm going to have to work so hard to get there, but I actually enjoy the journey. I do actually enjoy, like, the grind and the hustle of it, and being out there doing deals, doing my projects, doing client projects. I enjoy the development aspect of things. And I think because I love what I do, that constantly pushes me on to be doing better and better and better. And I would say overall, I'm probably not massively one to sort of celebrate my wins, because the wins that I will have in the future are way, way, way bigger. That this is just like a little milestone. I'm like, okay, cool. What's next? Let's go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Adriana Caffaso, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You are listening to the Need to Succeed podcast with Ibrahim Brahma. Make sure to like and subscribe for more episodes like this.